Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Dr. Sri Ranjit Ajit Singh, Chairman of the Securities Commission of Malaysia. Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Amir Shah.
Welcome to Invest KL. On a slightly lighter note, Malaysia at 60 is not to be equated with the age of a woman. Having said that, I have to be very careful because my wife is over 60, and so am I. Ladies and gentlemen, 7 years ago, in 2010, I introduced our new economic model, right here at Invest Malaysia, in fact. This model was designed to transform Malaysia into a high-income nation and our country into a more inclusive, a more equitable and sustainable society, with the notion that no one should be left behind. An opportunity made for all, and with the right fundamentals put in place to secure a stable and successful future. We had a plan, and it was a plan of reform, economic transformation, and even the willingness to take the tough but responsible choices. And it is clear today that, aided by the hard work of millions of Malaysians, the plan has worked. We have delivered, and is continuing to work. Ladies and gentlemen, let the facts speak for themselves. Between 2009 and 2016, gross national income has increased by nearly 50%, and GNI per capita, using the Atlas method, increased to $9,850. Based on the World Bank's latest high-income threshold of $12,235, we have narrowed the gap towards the high-income target from 33% to 19%. 2.26 million jobs have been created, which represents 69% of the 3.3 million target we want to reach by 2020. Clearly, we are making the right progress toward those goals. Inflation and unemployment have been kept low. We have attracted unprecedented levels of foreign direct investment, which shows the confidence the world has in Malaysia. But no wonder, for our growth has been the envy of the advanced economies, even during years of turmoil for the global economy. This year, the World Bank has upped their estimate. We are expected to record a rise in GDP of 4.9%, considerably higher than their earlier prediction of 4.3%. Others have also increased their predictions. Morgan Stanley now says 5%, while Nomura's forecast is for the Malaysian economy to grow by 5.3% this year. Only yesterday, the IMF have reviewed their forecast from 4.5 to 4.8%, and growth is expected to be higher next year. So we are on the right trajectory. Other sets of figures support confidence in Malaysia. In the first quarter of 2017, our trade, for instance, recorded an increase of 24.3%, up to 430.5 billion ringgit compared with the same period last year. In March, exports breached the 80 billion mark for the first time in our history. At 82.63 billion ringgit, it was the highest monthly figure for Malaysian exports ever recorded. The capital market increased by 9% to a level of 3.1 trillion in the first 6 months of this year, and now ranks 5th in Asia relative to GDP. It continues to attract wide interest from both domestic and foreign investors. In fact, in the equity market, there were net inflows of 11 billion ringgit in the first half of 2017 compared to 3 billion ringgit of net outflows during the whole of 2016. The Malaysian bond market grew to 1.2 trillion ringgit in 2016, while our Islamic capital market has recorded a hugely impressive average annual growth of 10% over the last 6 years, reaching 1.8 trillion ringgit in June 2017. Ladies and gentlemen, Malaysia is also home to the largest number of listed companies in ASEAN. At $29 billion, Bursa Malaysia also recorded the highest amount of funds raised in the last 5 years in any country in our 10-nation association. And our currency, the ringgit, has been described by Bloomberg recently as, and I quote, easily the strongest major Asian currency this quarter, climbing twice as much as the next best, the Chinese yuan, end of quote. All of this can point to only one conclusion. Our economy continues to prosper, and we are stronger than ever as a result of the reforms and the programs the government has put in place. Ladies and gentlemen, the markets, the business community, and companies, they all like strength and stability. They want the certainty provided by a government that understands that the prosperity of its people is best served by being business-friendly, and that sovereignty is not compromised 1 inch by the record foreign direct investment this government has secured. No, it will help build the new Malaysia of the 21st century and bring many benefits from knowledge and skills transfers to a rise in the standard of living for the people. The business community wants the certainty of knowing that the government is committed to the necessary reforms and is committed to fostering a culture of entrepreneurship and to transparency, accountability, and good regulation. On that note, I can announce that the government has, in principle, agreed to the establishment of an integrity and governance unit at all GLCs and state and ministry-owned business entities under the supervision of the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, precisely to strengthen the confidence all can and should and do have in Malaysia. The international business community knows that it has that certainty with this government. Indeed, they are voting with their feet. HSBC is investing over 1 billion to build its future regional headquarters in the Tun Razak exchange, recognizing Malaysia's increasing status as an international financial and business center. Broadcom Limited, one of the world's largest semiconductor companies with a market cap of nearly $500 billion, is going to transfer its global distribution hub from Singapore to Malaysia in 2017, from where it will manage the group's global inventory of 64 billion ringgit a year. Huawei, a leading global ICT solutions provider, which serves more than 1/3 of the world's population, has made Malaysia its global operation headquarters, data hosting center, and global training center with a total project cost of 2.2 billion ringgit and employing more than 2,370 people. Saudi Aramco is investing $7 billion. That's its biggest downstream investment outside the kingdom for a 50% stake in Petronas refinery and petrochemical integrated development in Johor. That is the single largest investment in Malaysia and shows the confidence Saudi Arabia has in our people and our technology and our ability to be a strong partner with their most important business. Others who are already here are expanding the operation. Finisar Corporation, a global technology leader in optical communications, will invest a further 610 million ringgit in its operation in Perak, bringing its total investment in Malaysia to 1 billion ringgit. Coca-Cola has already invested 1 billion ringgit in Malaysia since 2010. It announced in March an additional 500 million investment to expand the size and production capacity of their plant at Bandar Enstek. I could go on and on. The point is that the confidence and certainty global business have in Malaysia brings jobs, lifts wages, and helps our workforce upskill. But, ladies and gentlemen, it is this government that offers that certainty to businesses, both in Malaysia and overseas. The opposition offers none at all. They are in chaos. Two leading members of one party can't agree if the old opposition alliance still exists in the state of Selangor. Yes, it does, says one. Oh, no, it doesn't, says the other. It's like a Punch and Judy show. And the latest leadership structure the opposition announced is farcical, sounding a bit like a return-to-work program for old-age political pensioners. It is also cynical and deceptive, with three leaders, but no clarity on who has executive power among them, and DAP kept deliberately invisible despite controlling the opposition behind the scenes with the vast majority of their parliamentary seats. As for their Prime Minister candidate, the opposition is so desperate that they are now trying to make the people believe it will be a nonagenarian who isn't even a member of parliament and whose party has just one seat. But the truth is that in a democracy, numbers don't lie, and DAP remains by far the most dominant party in the opposition. The DAP leader of the last half-century is now hiding behind the man who jailed him, trying to deceive Malaysians into thinking that former leader is their interim candidate for Prime Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, neither can the word opposition be relied on. Just recently, a leading member in one party said that if Malaysia had such good relations with Saudi Arabia, why had the Haji quota not been increased? But it has, twice this year, from 22,230 to 27,900, and then up to 30,200. That's another example of the benefits this government's policies bring to the people of Malaysia. In this case, our foreign policy of forging friendships abroad rather than holding grudges for decades, as that certain former leader still does. But you don't hear about the very real benefits from our engagement with Saudi Arabia, China, India, or anywhere else from the opposition. In fact, they'll tell barefaced lies about it, just as they've been feeding lies about the economy and stoking fears of economic disaster in Malaysia. There has, in fact, been a concerted campaign to send such misinformation overseas to damage Malaysia's economy for their own selfish political objectives. So if you receive these smears or you read in it publications that do not check the facts properly, please beware. It is not fair to the Malaysian people, and it's not fair to the business community, both at home and abroad. They and you deserve the truth. So let me tell you what a cross-section of respected international bodies have to say about this government's record. The OECD's most recent economic assessment of Malaysia stated, and I quote, Malaysia is one of the most successful Southeast Asian economies, thanks to sound macroeconomic fundamentals and its success in transforming its economy into a well-diversified and inclusive one, end of quote. We are ranked second in ASEAN in the World Bank's Doing Business Report 2017 and 23rd overall amongst 190 economies globally. We were ranked second among Southeast Asian nations in the World Economic Forum's Human Capital Index 2016, up one place from last year's third spot. We are ranked third among 190 economies worldwide for protecting minority investors by the World Bank Doing Business Report. The World Economic Forum's Global Competitiveness Report 2016-17 ranks Malaysia fourth amongst 138 economies for strength of investor protection. We rank 11th out of 125 countries in the Venture Capital and Private Equity Attractiveness Index by the IESE Business School in Spain. The ratings agency Fitch recently reaffirmed our A- rating and a stable outlook. And a recent survey by BAV Consulting and the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania declared Malaysia to be the best country to invest in. It said, and I quote, "Malaysia is the clear frontrunner in this ranking, scoring at least 30 points more than any country on a 100-point scale," end of quote. Ladies and gentlemen, there is clear international unanimity that Malaysia is on the right course, and the figures and accolades I have reported to you today are the direct result of this government's steering of the economy through uncertain and choppy global waters. IMF reported that the resilience of our economy was due, and I quote, to sound macro policy responses in the face of significant headwinds and risk. And these sound policies are the reason why they said that Malaysia is among the fastest growing economies among peers. And lastly, the World Bank has showed that it agrees as well. In its latest report, issued just last month, it said that the government's macroeconomic management has been constantly proactive and effective in navigating near-term challenges in the economic environment. It concluded, and I quote, "The Malaysian economy is progressing from a position of strength." Does that really sound like the Malaysian economy is failing and that we are in danger of going bankrupt, as the opposition would have you believe? I think the World Bank, the OECD, and the IMF know what they're talking about. And I'm sure, ladies and gentlemen, that you do too. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have only arrived at that position of strength because we put in place a far-reaching economic plan, and because we have been unafraid to take the tough decisions to build up the resilience of the Malaysian economy. We have diversified government sources of income, including a reliance on oil and gas revenues, from 41% in 2009 to 14% today. Given the huge drop in the price of oil, just imagine how we would be suffering if we had not done that. We also needed to widen the tax base. So in common with around or more than 160 countries, we introduced the Goods and Services Tax, or GST. It was not popular, but it was the right thing to do, as every reputable economist has confirmed. GST has helped us in our determination to steadily reduce the deficit, and we are on course to reduce it to 3% this year from 6.7% in 2009. And GST has been crucial to retaining our good assessments by the international rating agencies. Yet, opposition say they would abolish it. Tell me, from where exactly would they produce the 41 billion collected in GST revenue last year. Out of a hat, if GST was abolished, it would not just be a matter of revenue shortfall. The deficit would rise immediately from 3.1% to 5%. Our ability to fund the construction, schools, hospitals, and other essentials would be affected. Government debt would rise above our self-imposed level of 55% of GDP. Our sovereign credit ratings would then be downgraded. Lending costs for all, such as loans for personal use, for business, for housing, would increase. The people would suffer, and they would suffer directly. One of Malaysia's prominent independent analysts, the Director of Economics at the Institute of Strategic and International Studies Malaysia, had it right when he said the idea of getting rid of GST was, and I quote, preposterous and economically nonsensical. I don't think anyone in their right mind would want to do that, he said. It is another example of what opposition do when faced with tough decisions. They seek the easy or the populist way out, regardless of whether it makes sense or is even possible. They are not being straight with the Malaysian people. This government, however, will always be straight with the people, and we will always do the right by the people. We will always put their interests first, from economic welfare to security, even if it is not the most popular thing to do. We will not hesitate because it is the responsible thing to do for the country. This is also one of the reasons I'm not very popular with that certain nonagenarian. Under his leadership, many corners were cut, and the Malaysian people had to pay a very high price so that a few of his friends benefited, even when symbols of national pride had horrendous and catastrophic decisions inflicted on them. But I say to you now that under this government, we are cracking down on crony capitalism. No more sweetheart deals. No more national follies kept going to stoke the ego of one man. No more treating national companies as though they were personal property, because it is the people who will suffer, and we will not tolerate a few succeeding and not on their own merits, while the many are denied opportunities, all for the interest of a selfish few. Now, some of you may be thinking that I have not mentioned national companies where there have been issues. At 1MDB, it is now clear there were lapses in governance. However, rather than bury our heads in the sand, we ordered investigations into the company on a scale unprecedented in our nation's history. Rather than funnel good money after bad to cover up any issues 1MDB may have faced, the model embraced by a former leader, I instructed a rationalization of the company. It is progressing well. Indeed, many of the assets formerly owned by 1MDB are thriving. One only needs to drive past Razak Exchange to see the construction for confirmation. But let's not forget that while there were issues at 1MDB, certain politicians blew them out of proportion and tried to sabotage the company in an attempt to topple the government in between election cycles. At a time when we knew the real issue was not 1MDB, and that if 1MDB hadn't been around, they would have chosen another line of attack to try to illegitimately change the government. But we stood steadfast and resolute in the face of this orchestrated campaign, because we will not be deterred from our duty as a democratically elected government to serve the nation. Our priorities were made crystal clear when we introduced the concept of the capital economy, which refers to the macro perspective, and the people economy, which is focused entirely on the people, the most precious asset of our great country. We face challenges ahead, of course. We need to improve productivity. We need to raise the levels of education and skills. We need to put innovation and creativity at the heart of the economy of the future. This is why we have partnered with the Chinese technology leader Alibaba to create the Digital Free Trade Zone, the world's first special trade zone that will promote the growth of e-commerce and provide a state-of-the-art platform for both SMEs and larger enterprises to conduct their digital businesses and services. This initiative is part of the digital roadmap, which aims to double e-commerce growth from 10.8% to 20.8% by 2020. But we can only achieve such targets with the people. And by empowering the people to ensure the dignity of all, we have virtually eliminated poverty to less than 1%. We are delighted that the income of the bottom 40% households has been increasing at a compound annual growth rate of 12% since 2009 when I took office. But we know that cost of living issues hit at those low incomes the hardest, which is why we distributed 5.6 billion ringgit in One Malaysia People's Aid or BRIM to 7.28 million households in 2016. This is why we ensured that essential foods and necessities are zero rated for GST. At the same time, we have many agencies promoting affordable housing programs, and why we built and restored nearly 95,000 houses for the rural poor last year. Other affordable housing projects like PPA 1M for civil servants, Prima for the urban middle income group, and the People's Housing Program for the lower income group or bottom 40 with monthly rents as low as 124 ringgit. Infrastructure, too, is absolutely vital. It is crucial for our cities and life-changing for rural communities. From 2010 to 2016, we delivered 6,042 kilometers of new rural roads, provided 350,000 houses with access to clean water, and connected 154,000 houses to electrical services. At the end of last year, the first phase of the mass rapid transit project was completed, and recently, the second phase of the Sungai Buloh Kajang MRT line has been launched. We now have 51 kilometers of operational line with 31 stations. This will take 160,000 cars off-road, making Kuala Lumpur more livable. It created 130,000 new jobs, of which 70,000 are direct employment. And best of all, it was completed ahead of schedule and 2 billion below budget. We are now planning for MRT2 and MRT3. The Pan-Borneo Highway in Sabah and Sarawak will be a game changer for our people there, encouraging greater mobility, boosting industry and tourism, creating thousands of new jobs. In a few years' time, we will have the first high-speed rail link connecting Kuala Lumpur to Singapore, which will cut travel time between two cities to 90 minutes as compared to more than 4 hours by car. And the East Coast Rail Link will bring huge benefits, jobs, and new connectedness to the people of Pahang, Terengganu, and Kelantan in particular. In other areas, we are seeing the benefits of our programs for all the people. The national preschool enrollment rate rose to 85.6% in 2016, for instance, as opposed to 67% in 2009. And we have achieved almost universal enrollment for the 5 years and upwards age group. Women have seen great strides as well. The female labor force participation rate has increased from 46% in 2009 to 54.3% last year. There's more than 700,000 more women in the workforce. And I'm delighted to be able to announce that Malaysia has achieved its target of women making up 30% of top management. That's 1,446 women out of a total 4,960 in top management, excluding CEOs, as of December 2016. But we want to go further, though. We have set 2020 as a date by which we want all public listed companies to have at least 30% women at board level, because we know that when women succeed, we all succeed. Unfortunately, we still have 17 top 100 PLCs that have no women at all on their board. This is not good enough. and I call on these companies to immediately address this lack of diversity. I would like to announce that from 2018, January 2018, the government will name and shame PLCs with no women on their board. Ladies and gentlemen, as many of you will know, SMEs make up 97% of businesses in Malaysia, and one of the hallmarks of my administration has been its support and encouragement for this backbone of our economy. So I'm pleased to be able to officially launch today the leading entrepreneur accelerator platform market, or LEAP market, by Bursa Malaysia. This is a new qualified market which will offer an alternative way for small and medium companies to raise funds and grow their business to the next level. It is in line with our SME master plan, which aims to raise the share of GDP contributed by SMEs, their numbers of employees, and their volume of exports. It is another of the many initiatives that my government has put in place in pursuit of our transformation, and that prove our trustworthiness as a business-friendly government of a vibrant economy. Ladies and gentlemen, we want you to see Malaysia as a gateway to ASEAN and region, and with the eventual conclusion of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, we want you to see Malaysia as a base from which to access almost 50% of the world's population and over 30% of global GDP. Ladies and gentlemen, this year we are celebrating the 60th anniversary of independence. From a relatively humble beginnings, we have grown and evolved into a modern economy and society with a record to be proud of. But we are looking to the future as well, which is why we have produced the 2050 National Transformation, or TN50 initiative. Through TN50, we want to listen to the people, to our rakyat. We want them to be heard. And through our dialogue sessions, we are listening to the aspirations of our youth for what they want the Malaysia of 2050 to be. As the Prime Minister of Malaysia, I want to lay out the foundations needed for our nation to be counted among the very top countries in the world. We want that competitive edge and to be a knowledge-based society. But we must always work towards those goals in ways that are sustainable, inclusive, and equitable. No Malaysian must ever be left behind. All must participate, all must benefit from this amazing journey that we are on. We invite you to be part of the journey, and I hope today we are able to shed light on the tremendous opportunities that Malaysia has to offer. We urge you to look at our potential, to look at the great achievements the government's transformation program has delivered and will continue to deliver, and invest in Malaysia. Once again, let me welcome you to Kuala Lumpur. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the organizers, Bursa Malaysia and CIMB, and to wish you all a very, very successful conference. I thank you. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.